Hello friends, it's David R. Becker here with Becker Art, and thanks for dropping by. I think we're going to have a few more new people here today. And so welcome if you're new and to my channel. And today is the day we do a paint-along. And basically, many people don't paint along, but I have, they're going to be up here forever, and they're free for you to use. And these images are all royalty-free images, so you can just go ahead and use them. And I'm going to show you today how to take a black and white, basically a sculpture or a statue, and turn it into more of a color scheme. But I want to show you a little bit of something about why we use these kind of sculptures and plaster casts when we were in school. Back in art school, we used to use them a lot for life drawing, and there was about the planes and how to get shape and make the shape of learn how to draw the shape. And so this week I've been taking a lot of classes on how to maybe do my videos a little bit better. So we're going to try to go through this pretty quickly, because I know you guys don't like to stay. It's good to get it done quick and get to the point. All right, so we're going to get right to the point and show you how to do this. But I am going to see who's here, because this is my hour. Where I take an hour, and we're going to try maybe less than an hour, but where I do my classes. And if you're new here, I try to teach you. Each time there's something where I'm trying to teach you for this particular paint-along. So let's see who's here. We got Sue, Pamela, Diana, Sylvia, Barbara, Wendy, and Patty. And so thank you guys for always sticking with me here and stuff. And hopefully we'll get some more new people. And also when you're asking questions, go right ahead. If everybody asks questions right away, though, I may miss some things, because that happened like a couple weeks ago, and even last week, I think. There was a lot of questions being asked, and it's hard to read all of them sometimes when they're just coming right through there. And so just ask it again if I maybe didn't answer it, or if I didn't answer it and through the whole time, put it in the description. Write it out in the description of the video, not in the chat, in the video, in the description, so then I can answer it there. I can answer it just there too. And that one actually is better, because then everybody else can read it, and they don't have to go through the chat. All right, and so this is a live, but it will not be live after I get done. And so then it's good to put in the description too. All right, but don't put in the description now if you want me to answer a question, because I do not read the description right now. I look at the chats. All right, for anybody new here, welcome, and thanks for coming. And so here's my webpage for all of those new people. Here's my webpage, and you can sign up, and that's where you get my images for the paint-alongs right here. Right there's where you get the image of the paint-along. And then these are my last two, and Sunday and other demonstrations and paint-alongs. Sunday is not a paint-along, it's more of a demonstration. And then down here is where you get my newsletter. Right there, it's Float Your Pigment newsletter. And sign up right there, and you'll get the thing right to your email. And email you the picture with usually another video of some type teaching you something. I'm here to teach you, and I hope you learn something. All right? And so let's go to our supplies. And our supplies are Holbein watercolors. And those are the colors I have on my palette right now. And sometimes I bring in new ones, but that's usually the main ones. I do want to bring in some of those granulating ones, but that's too many. There's too many on my palette then. And so let's go to our value pattern. And so here with our value pattern is, and we don't have color in this one, and that's because I want to talk about how to take a statue, some kind of sculpture, or even on the street, you have the big statues and stuff. And usually they're just one color, right? They're just big concrete, cement, or marble, like the David, and you can look at and they're usually lit up really nicely, when you have a light on them. And so you see the form of shape. And so we're going to do this with the lights and darks, but I'm going to add color to them. And I think I'm going to make this one even look like a bald eagle. I'm not sure if this is one, but I'm going to use the colors of the bald eagle just to kind of put it in here, just to show that you can get the shape, but still put in a little bit of color to make the color look like whatever the colors are on the scene. It's more important when you're learning how to draw and how to put this down. And you can trace this too. That's fine. We traced it in class. You can trace it and trace as much as you can. Trace everything if you need to, because we're now going to look at the values, and then we can put in the color based on the values of your eagle. And so we're going to get this done tonight. If you're new here, I usually try to get it done by the last hour. I rarely failed to get it done. And if I do get it very close, I maybe just put little highlights in at the very end, and we can discuss those. And so let me see. Let me put you over here a little bit so I can read some of the comments. Lynn says the statue on Sunday was awesome. Thank you so much. That's the reason we're doing this one, is because I want you guys to have the chance to do a sculpture too. And why is this? Oh, this is a always advertising here. It blocks me from reading your things when there's advertising on there. Hello, Mr. New Person, Kim. Hey, Kim. Take as long as you want, because this will be here forever, and so you don't have to paint it and get it done the same time. You can always come back to it anytime later on. All right, so here we go. And so since I'm going to make it look, I just want to show you. Let's go to our tabletop here first for one thing. And I also, through looking at this, see the lights? The lights are right here, the front of his body. His legs in here, and this thing looked like, I was saying that it kind of looked like a birthday cake or something. I don't know what he's standing on. So I just put a big rock there. I put a big boulder, and matter of fact, I didn't do anything in class today, and I'm not going to show you that one because it's in the car, and it didn't turn out so good. So we're not going to show you that one today. We're just going to show you the right way of doing it. It was okay. It was okay, but I didn't do it to the right scale. So that's another thing. This is a square picture. And you need to, work on whatever you're working on, and from the reference and the value study has to be the same proportions as the paper. Just make sure it's the same proportions, because it's all based on those proportions and the light and dark of it and the color. I'm going to show you how I'm going to put that on there. But here you see all the lights, and the background is basically your dark. So the front of this eagle and this middle tone, I'll make to the dark. I'll bring it to the dark part. And I didn't do a no tan on this one. I'm not sure why, because this is also the same thing. I should have been a no tan. You guys take the notanizer, I think it's called, and do it yourself and see that you make it black and white, and you'll see this will go mostly into the dark. There'll be more of the dark, and so that it'll make the lights come shining forward, right? All right, here we go. Let's get going. And so I wanted to show you also the colors of a bald eagle. See right there, the color. So knowing that this area on the front of is light, if you look at, let me hold on, let me get my, all right, where's my text? Where's my button? All right, technical difficulties here. Where the heck did you go? Oh, there it is. Here it is. There we go. And so, okay, now 1 second. All right, so on here, the light is white, right? His chest is white. Well, here it's a light brown, and his feathers are brown. And so we can make this really light, like the sun is blurring out the brown, but we can still make it look like it's brown. And so, but this gives you the shape of it, knowing that this has to be light. So black and white is better for learning the shape. Then just make the color, whatever it is, but use these values. You can make a brown that's just bright, not white. I mean, it's hard to make a white, but sometimes fur and feathers are very shiny, so you can make it look almost white too. And that's just your obligation, that you can do anything you want. It's basically artist license, that you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to make this white, but I will make this also brown. And so I'm going to use the colors of the eagle, of the bald eagle, and we're going to see if that'll work. I think it will. I didn't do that way this afternoon, but I think I'm going to try it. So let's get this eagle off my picture, and so let's get going. And so I don't want to see the picture of the eagle anyways when I'm going to draw it, when I paint it, because I want the paint just to be whatever I want the colors to be. And we're going to start with the light, and since the light is going to be, you know, white of the paper, that means I got most of it done, like of this part. In the shadow part, I can put that in right away too. And so I'm going to do it a little bit different from the way I did this afternoon, because I was really sloppy this afternoon, but I want to show a little bit that it doesn't matter what I get into the background, because the background is going to be dark. And so if I make these lights and even the shadows, they can go in there because it'll be covered with a darker color, right? All right. Okay, let me see if anybody else is talking here. Hold on, let me see. Go down. Hey, Cindy. Hey, Maria. And let's get going. All right, so we're gonna, I always try to find a path I'm gonna take. And so let me go from this side to this side. I'm just gonna, which I normally shouldn't do because I'm gonna take paint over it all the time. So let's go from this side. I'm gonna do the eagle from this side, and I'm gonna wet this side of the eagle. And again, I'm gonna have it look sort of brown, but I'm gonna still try to keep the light values that you see there. And so I'm wetting with a round brush, and I only use a round brush when I'm kind of drawing painting at the same time. It's sort of like when I need an edge, it's easier for me to put the edge on here. Even though I can go outside the lines, that's fine. You know, it's not kindergarten, you don't have to go inside the lines. You can go outside the lines. It'll be darker out there. And so let's, I'm taking my dirty palette here. I never cleaned it from this weekend, so that's okay. Because those are colors, those were nice colors anyways from when the angel, we did the angel. And so let's just put a little bit of, it's going to be kind of brownish. So let's just float my pigment. That was that's the big video that really got me so many views this week. Within like 5 days, I had over 4,000 views. Couldn't believe it. And I've been taking classes, like I said, to get you guys to, you know, do a better videos. I feel like I could do a little bit better with my videos, and so it taught me a few things, and also the SEO, I guess they call it, that was a little bit better. My title was better, so, and I put descriptions in there, and so trying to get a little bit more professional for you guys. Hey, Gray Cat 213. Glad you're doing this particular image tonight, Robbie. Oh, Robbie. Hey, Robbie. So, see, I'm making it brown, and this is light. This is like still my lights, and I'm going to try to make it even lighter. And it kind of looks brown, right? I mean, it could be brown. It's not, you know, exactly the eagle, you know, that one I showed you. It doesn't have to be really dark brown. You can make it because it's the light area, so I can just float some light area in there. Now the tail is white, but the tail on the picture, I think this image was AI image. I think it's not even really a sculpture or a statue. I think it's an AI image because they have those in the Pixel Bay and the places where I get my images. But I think because some of the feathers and some of the things are really kind of off, and usually that happens with AI. So I don't think it's a perfect AI image, and it's definitely not, I don't think, a real sculpture. Now this part here where it's going to be white, I'm just going to take and put a little tint on there with color, because when I did it with pure white, it kind of was a little bit too vibrant. And see how I pull out some of the things? I can pull out the paint, but you gotta need to put enough paint in there in the beginning. Now this is going to be really dark, almost like the background, so why not right away make it really dark so that when I do the background, it'll kind of float right into the background. Because I do like having things go from the background into the scene. That gives it a really good look. And so I'm going to put some of these darks in while I'm doing my lights, only because I want to have it wet in the wet, and it's okay to do that. You don't have to make everything just a light in the very first wash. My Becker Art 3-step is the first thing is your lights, and your color, right? That doesn't mean you can't go right into the step 2, which is the large, mediums, and darks. Sometimes you can put all 3 of them together at one time. You know, it all depends on what you want to do with that particular part of the painting. I like to not go back into areas because it's sort of like, let me just get as much done as I can, and then I'll come back in and maybe just do detail instead of having to do lights and the middle tone in different steps. And this way I get soft edges. And then I can also, while it's wet, I can shift the colors around and float the colors. And I got to get my, I don't know what I did with my palette of granulating colors, because I really am enjoying those colors. I'm going to enjoy them really a lot this year when I go out painting, I think. I have not gone out plein air painted yet, and I know, Maria, you have. I've seen all your images online, and I'm very jealous that you're going out there painting. I would love to get out there. I will, hopefully soon. I got to get ready for all the plein air events I've got going on this year. I've got so many, and so I got to start getting out there. So now that's a gray, right? But I can put a little brown into the gray. You know, I can just put a little bit of brown and purple. Brown and purple are really, and actually I'm running out of purple right here now, I've noticed. And I know that's, again, this is my middle tone. It's going to be my middle tone, but that's okay. I just want to make it all one wash so I can get all those soft edges while it's all wet. And you notice I'm not doing individual feathers because I don't need to yet. I want to get the shape of the big parts. And that's what's so neat about using a black and white like this. It's just so easy. I mean, look at it. You can see where the lights are, and you can see where the darks are, and the middle tones are. And basically, the only dark is the background right back here. And so I can put a few of those darks in here. I can do that now, but I'll wait for that for when I do the details. Right now, I'm getting the middle tones and the lights. And the lights have been done because a lot of it is going to be white. And then I just go in here and just manipulate it because it's all really nice and wet. And here I went into the background, and that'll be fine. Now this tail is going to be white, but because it's in shadow, it'll be light right now, but then I'm going to blend it into the background. So I'll put a second wash on it later because it is white. It's going to be white. And take a little lavender. And look at all these ugly colors I've been going here. This is going to be a big rock. See, I put just a rock here because if you look at the picture, what is that? It's like a big furry, or I don't know what he's standing on. And so look at, we're going to keep his chest white. Even though he's a brown bald eagle, I'm still going to keep his chest light, super light, with a little gold. Let me put some gold in there. Golden color here. Now I got to stay away from his head because his head is white. His head of the bald eagle is white, right? So I can't put the brown in there. And so I'm just going to put I can use any color for white when it comes to shadowing, but I'm going to use something that is going to be probably like a violet. And I really haven't picked out a color scheme yet, which is very strange for me, but I don't think I need to. I know I have brown. Brown is like purple, so purple and yellow maybe. Maybe that's what I'll go with. Which I went with that with the angel this weekend. So okay, we did it. We'll do it again. It's just that I don't want to do green or something like that because the background or something. I just am not a big green person. I think there's even been books written about green and artists and how it's hard for artists to use green. So here we're gonna do his. Now look at how opaque that is because I used that shows you how opaque like lavender is in lilac. But if you add water, look at this, watch this. As soon as I add water, suddenly it becomes transparent. You know, it's a thick opaque color. But if you add water and let the pigment float, then it becomes transparent. So, and that is why you can use it. You can use pastel colors for some of those award places like TWSA, where you can use pastel colors as long as it's transparent. You know, because it has white in it. Obvious it has white in it, lavender. But I've used it in a couple of my paintings that got accepted, and it was fine because I used it transparently. There's a little shadow underneath here. I'm just taking advantage of lunch breaks to getting out of work at a decent hour to spend a few minutes after work. None of my pieces are done though, since they're. Hey, I bet you're still out there, and that's the best part. And I tell all my students, get out there. That's more important than anything. Is getting out there and practicing and You know, it's all about practicing. I don't care how, you know, you do with your painting. It could be the worst painting you ever done, but you know, you usually learn something from everything you do. And being outside, it's a great. I've noticed a lot of people telling me, it's like, boy, my paintings have become so much different and so much better since I've been plein air painting in the last two. Actually, I started painting in 2020, plein air painting, but then last year I did like a lot of it, and people have been telling me, it's like, wow, I think you've really sprouted ahead when it came to like your quality of your work and stuff, and also you're doing it for yourself, and so I think that has a little bit to do with it too, because you know, I don't have to be teaching. When I'm teaching, I'm always thinking about what the lesson is for what you're doing, right? And when you're out there by yourself and you're doing whatever you want, then I'm painting for myself, and I'm not thinking about how I'm going to have to teach it. I just do it. I just you know, go out there and paint. So let's go get some darker middle tones here now too. And I'm doing this while it's wet so I can get the look of soft edges. Again, the more pigment, the less it's going to bleed. So I'm just going to go in there, use some browns, some crimson colors here. And this is a little bit darker. So that way, when I'm finished doing this, it's done. And I don't know if you noticed that when I did the pencil line, I shaded with the pencil because I know that part's going to be dark. And if I shade it enough, I'll not see as much of the lines, the line that I put down for the shadow. It'll disappear, and that's kind of good. And that's, I think that way you know where the shadows are, and you can just go in there and, you know, while it's wet, and just cover them. Just cover those shadows. The shading, not the shadows, the shading. Now these shadows I put in, see the lines, that's not going to go away because that's going to be, let's go a little bit darker. I guess we can go a little bit darker. My car, Terry's tools on one side, art boxes on the other. That's neat. The backpack. All right, let's see. Let's put a little bit more darker in the white of the bird. See, I'm still coloring, and I'm getting the color of the bird. And when I get to the beak and I make that really orange and all that, it's still going to come out. And right now it doesn't look very bright because everything is bright still. It just looks kind of dark, but it's not. When you see what I use for the background, it's not going to be black, but it's going to be pretty dark. That way it'll pop it nice and nice. It'll pop it really, really nicely. Let's get a little violet in here too. Get the shape of what you see. You know, get the shape of what you're putting down. I squint my eye to see the color, the values, not the color. I squint my eye to lose the color and see the values. Like this is going to be really light. And I maybe even put some white gouache there on top of there to really pop that light out again. And you notice how here, this is going to be really dark. You know, and then people ask me about, you know, how good is plein air painting. It's very good. It really puts you into nature and lets you see what colors things really are. You know, times when I'm in school and I'm learning and I'm making up colors a lot of times, there you see exactly what you do. You can still make up colors, but then you know what you make up the color to be to maybe kind of make it look kind of like it, or you can just use some other colors too. But it's good to learn what the real color is, and then if you're going to change it, you know, you can know. It's a good thing to learn how the colors are. And it's not as colorful as we think out there. If you look at some of these artists nowadays, they some people push their colors, and that's cool. And then there's some that just make it exactly like it is, gray. There's a lot of gray when you're out there. And so you decide on how you want it to be. Now, the legs on the eagle are also brown. So we'll just... It's really important to keep his legs right here in light. I'm looking at the values again. Look at the values. His legs are orange and yellow. Actually, these two colors right here. I'm just going to go in there and just... Their legs are orangey yellow. And maybe white on top too because it's so bright on top. You can just keep them light. And see how I'm using the color of the object. Even though I'm working from a black and white, and the light shadow, I'm still getting the form because I'm using the light and dark of those colors. And I can even go back in later, make it darker, but I'm going to try as much as possible to try to get everything to its value right away, especially when I want to get soft edges here and make it look like feathers, because feathers are pretty soft, right? It's not fur, but it can look pretty soft. And so the reason I do that is because I want to get the soft edges. Wet in the wet gives you the soft edges, and that makes it look kind of furry along with feathery. And floating your pigment is just one of those things that makes watercolor look good. It's just, the best watercolors are the ones that have a lot of floating pigment, at least in my opinion. I love the look of and see how I put underneath here is the white. It's going to be the white of the tail. And I'm going to keep the back of the tail right here white to make it look like just a little bit of the white from the back is hitting that area. And this area here is a little bit lighter. Watch out when you take paint out like that. Put more water back in there so it still floats, even if it's a light pigment. Like even if it's like a yellow or a white, and even if it's white, let me show you. If I put white in there and I float it, it will look transparent. See, I'm putting white in there. It's just going to mix with the color and give it that color a little bit lighter look. But when it's floating, white even looks transparent, which it is. It's transparent because it's not much pigment, but it is white pigment, but it becomes transparent. And so that's, I don't do that and tell the TWSA that I said that's transparent, because it's an opaque color, but you can make it look somewhat transparent. See, look at that. I put it on there. I can still see the lines underneath the white, so really it is transparent, but it's not loud with TWSA, so don't use it for a place like that and say, well, David says it's transparent. That's not going to fly. And I wouldn't want you to get you kicked out of something you got into. I have yet to get in there. In the last 5 years, I have not been able to get into the TWSA. All right, so let me think. Let's make this a little bit more. All right, so that's my lights. That's pretty much my light areas. And so now I'm going to go in the background and have some fun with the background washes. And I'm going to start with the darks here and work my way around this way. And that way I can do this little area here. I want the tail to kind of blend right in there. And I'm going to use some dark purples. And I start out with black here, a little bit of purple. And let's see, we'll start right here. And look at how dark that is. That's a lot of pigment. But that's okay, because I want to go in here and it's going to float. So I put some water in there, and I want less pigment because I still want it to float, but I wanted to not dull down all that pigment. I want the pigment to float on there, but I need to have dark pigment so it stays dark. So I put quite a bit of pigment in that area, but then I'm going to just spread it out here a little bit. I'm looking at my scene, and I'm looking that this got a little bit darker up here. And then this is feathers back here. And so that I'm going to make a little bit gray. And then the back of the rock, I can just let the back of the rock be, I'm just going to put some grays in there. Let it float. Go around his leg, around his claw, I mean. Now I'm going to do that. The claws will be detailed, so I don't have to go in there yet. And this I could spatter later on for like rock, make it look like a rock here. This is going to be really dark right here. So again, look at how when you use black and then color it, it gets really, really dark. Oops, I just went over my light area of the tail. Oh well. When you're going fast and painting like this fast and trying to, sometimes you'll go over something you didn't want to go over. But I'm just going to put some paint in there and make this look like feathers going up. Any question? Plein air painting or drawing immerses you totally in the experience of being outdoors. It's quite the sensory experience, and it helps you see things so differently than from the photo. Yes, definitely. And I was always told that photos lie, and they do, because it's not exactly like it is out there, because I don't care how good a photographer are because it's on a screen, and the screen, whatever it's calibrated at, that's what you're going to see. And even if you took photos back in the day, when you had, it's always different because it's not exactly nature. It's not the exact thing, same thing. And then there's a lens that bends the light. And so sometimes you have little bright lights in areas, and it's just not the same. It's really good. And even if you don't do painting out there, you don't have to paint out there. How about just sketch or just look? Just look and witness things. Be out there and watch the sun go down and say to yourself, like, what are those colors? And like paint it in your head. You know, just even to get it to look like something in your head. So you're just memorizing the scene. Memorize the scene, and you can always have it for later. So here I'm just going to make that's part of the wing. Now see, this is still wet, and so that wing is going to be, that light is right on there. Look at that, darn it. One of these days I got to make this studio much better. I got to clean up in this studio is what I got to do. And so now we're going to go on top here, and we're just going to get nice and dark and nice and beautiful here. Hey, from Florida, it just popped away when I stop advertising here. Let's see. Hey, Lumen from Florida, welcome. Thanks a lot for dropping by. And so now we're going to get the hard edges. This is dry up here, so I'm going to get the hard edge. And then I'm going to wet it as I go along. I call this wetting as you go along. So wet it, get rid of the hard edge line on this side. On the other side, I want that hard line. I may even put a little bit of little feather look on that side. And I'm working on I'm working on 300-pound Stonehenge. That's what I'm working on today, and it's not mounted or anything. So, and let's make that. It's such a warm color. Let's make a cool color. How about some? Since there's a lot of orange and brown in this, let's make some blue. Let's get a bright blue in here. What the heck? Blue and orange are complements, so why not put a little blue in there, right? Oh yeah, look at that. That's going to look good. See, a little cooler in the background. That's going to be kind of neat. And this is wet enough yet still? Yeah, let's put a little down here then too. So a little peacock blue. See that? Look at that. Float that in the water. Float that in the water. Take a little bit of purple. And you need enough pigment. Remember, it's going to dry 20% lighter if you don't use a lot of pigment. The thicker the pigment, the less it's going to get lighter. But if it looks light, but it's wet, it's going to be even lighter when it gets dry. Because whatever pigment is left when all the water dries up. Okay, now this is all dry. Look at it. I can see I can make a, that's dry, right? No water. That doesn't mean I can't put it in like now. See, I'm just going to add water to it. Drop your pigment into the water. And then let it soften itself. Like this edge here is hard, but if I wanted to make this edge soft, I would have to wet that wing. But I don't want to because I do want this to be a hard edge. I should wait for this head to dry a little bit, I think more, but that's okay. We're going to go right in there. And then I'm going to put some pure pigments in here, just to let them float together on them by themselves. I'm kind of making my own granulating pigments by, you know, taking different colors and floating them into the water. And that's what they do. The company Holbein does that with their granulating colors. They just put it into the tube. I'm putting it on the paper like that. I'm just floating, and you have to float it to make them come together by themselves. You can't rub them together because then they'll look ugly. You have to let them float. Thanks for reminding everybody to hit the like button. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And definitely put something in the comments. And I'm not talking about the chatting. Chatting is great too. But in the description and down below, the comment section, comment or ask questions. Definitely, that's what I will answer. Sometimes not right away, but I will usually answer in time. This is peacock blue. This is alizarin. And look at it, I'm just wetting it putting it into the water, the deep deep puddle of water going kind of around the eagles. And I should have put the yellow down on his beak first, but too late. And then I'm just going to take it down. And how you do your washes, that's such a personal thing. And how do you want them textured? Do you like spattering in them? You know, what is it that you like about big washes of texture or color, granulation, salt? You know, what makes your washes better than the next person, or what do you like best? What do you like best in your washes? That's all up to you. Some people like to put cellophane down in this wet wash to get a kind of a texture. You know, it all depends on what you like. And this is just a big wash of dark, right? I mean, the background is dark. I didn't want to put like there's. It looks like it's in like a cathedral or something. There's like walls back there. I don't want to do that. You know, you could if you want, or you can make lines, or you can use stencils. You can use stencils back there to make something happen, as long as you keep it dark. Or, I mean, dark also, just so that's not as dark. It's not as light as the darkest light. You got to keep things separate. These are darks, but these are my lights right there. See the lights and the white of the paper? And now this wing, I'm going to do like this. Watch this. I'm going to wet this area. And this is a pretty ugly color right there, but that's okay because I want this to fall back. I want this to go in the background. And there's a lot of water here, boy. It's going to take a while to dry. Oh, right into his nose. Right into his nose. Or his beak, not his nose. His nose, his beak. Kosher salt, yeah, the big salt is best for when you want to get texture. Use kosher salt when you want to use it to make those little textury, like snowflakes. They end up looking like a little bit. You just let that all float. Down here, let's put some orange in here too. Let's see, and now I'm putting yellow orange into green, or into blue, and that makes a green, right? Not the best choice right there. So let's go over it with the bread. See, as long as it's floating, it'll flow itself together, and it'll all be fine. And then this wing has some light darks in it, so I'm just gonna kind of wet it right in there. I'm just gonna let it be dark. And I can go back in there later to get individual feathers in there. Go down here, get its claw. See how I dip into so many different colors? And that's a good thing. And you go in there and even black and some red and something else. If it's floating, it'll just still look transparent. It's not thick, not super thick like you're putting it on like oils. That we don't do. We don't do that unless we want lines and stuff like that. And even then, we don't make it that thick that it's like, you know, you can see the thickness of it. It's all about just making it a dark line when you need a dark line. Yeah, we don't show like thickness of the paint with watercolor. Unless you're doing gouache, then you can do a little bit of that if you want. And I actually kind of like that look for plein air painting. I like going out and getting some thickness to my watercolors. My watercolor gouache watercolors. Now look at how light that turned. That's too light. So I'm going to go back here real quickly. The nice thing is you can go back in as long as it's dry, and it dried already. I'm going to go back in there with just slightly darker, a little bit more pigment. Float it again. You can float as many times as you want, as long as it's floating. If you put it on there thick, then yeah, that's not going to work so good. But right now I just re-wet, refloat. Take it in right over here where this is still super wet right there. So watch this. It's going to put some more pigment in there so I keep it darker. And down here too, I'm just going to make it a little bit harder edge now. And that's fine as long as my pigment's floating. That was the big video this week. Was I'm almost close to 5,000 viewers on that one video, and all it was teaching you how to float your pigment. but which is my most important tip I think ever, because really you need to do that. That's the way you use watercolor. And it shows you the difference between like watercolor and gouache watercolor, because that is then thick. Now look at how light this area is now, but because of how dark I made the background, right? Now I've got the differences between the lights and darks. These lights are, boy, I should have shifted those lights like I did. Okay, so now we're down to details. We're down to our dark details and light details. And so this is supposed to be some kind of like, you know, kind of a rocky thing. And then I'm gonna, can't cover that up, but again, let's hit it like this. Oh, right in my face. I'm trying to get some texture in here. I can't cover up with a thing either, because I should do like I saw David R. Smith do. He puts a plastic over there and just taps like this. I'm just waving in there and just kind of getting the texture in there. And now my darks in here are not dark enough, but let's go for our detail first, and I'm going to get that as I go along again. And I don't think it's dry enough yet anyways. How much time do we have? Oh, we got plenty of time. Let's see. So let's move this up a little bit. And so this, I don't know if I like that back there, the light, but it could be light back there. All right, let's go in here now and get our big darks into the shadowing of the bird. A little bit darker. And like I said, it would have been nice to get them in the first wash, but it's hard sometimes, especially when you put a dark background like this in there. I thought that was dark, but definitely not dark enough, right? And so let's go back in here and get some darks going again, floating. Since this part is still wet, I can put a few in there. Thanks, I will give it a try in the morning. I have been trying the abstract technique, and David did a few weeks back with the no tan. So much fun. Your use of all those colors is why I keep coming back. Oh, thanks. Lots of fun colors. You know, you gotta, it's fun to use a lot of colors. I'm going to go back in here now. Watch this. I'm going to do some hard edges. And I'm going to follow the value pattern. And I've got it drawn down, the lines, so I can kind of go in here and do what I see in the lines. And it's okay to get hard edges, because those are hard edges now. Those are going to be the hard edge ones that you see in the picture, right? There's some hard edges in here. And I actually shaded those too, so I'm going to put them in kind of like wisping my brush to get a kind of a feathery look, right? I'm just going to take my brush. It's kind of dry brush in a way, but the paper's dry, and I'm getting more of a dry brush to make it look feathery. And then I can just, it'll give it texture though, so you have to watch out. It depends on if you want texture or if you want to be nice and smooth. If you want it smooth, you got to put a little bit more water in your brush. And also, if you want it not to have a texture, then you got to use a paper that's not texture. Like use a hot press then. But right here, watch this. This is going to be fun right here. You're going to go through here. I'm using a little bit of blue. And look at all these colors from a black and white, right? It's like, I don't know. All I know is that the wings are brown. And but does that matter? I mean, they still kind of look brown, right? It's just that they're so bright. And that's the fun part about it. You don't need to use exactly what you see in the photograph. You're the artist. You can do whatever you want when it comes to the colors, and still have that look of brown into the wings, but get all that nice high key meaning really light colors in there. 'Cause that's light, right? That's really light right there, but it's because the light is shining bright on it. It gives a more brighter look, because that's what happens when you have a really strong light on something. It burns out the color. Like the sun, when you look into the sun, it's white, right? It's super white, and it burns out the color. And then like when we do those landscapes where it burns out areas of the picture, and that's white, but then it gets really yellow after that. If it's the sun, if you're looking into the sun. And now I'm just going for the big areas of dark, but still trying to make them look like feathers too. I am losing a little bit of the softness, like of the granulation, because I'm putting this on a little bit thicker and not letting it float as much. But now I just put water in there, so now it'll float again. And right here it gets really, really dark. So don't be afraid of getting really, really dark. Too many of my students are always afraid of darks. They just never put them dark enough. They think they're dark, but then they think, oh, that's too harsh an edge. Well, try to do it soft edge then. If you feel it's too hard an edge, then yes, go in there and make it wet and make it soft. But use a lot of darks. I mean, look at all the color I have. The purple, blue, black, red, alizarin. And that's because I'm looking for the color. I'm looking for the value, I mean, not the color. I'm looking for the value of the object. Like this side of his leg is very, very dark. But I can make it a dark purple. And then leave the front alone. The front has to be what it is. And then all the way back here, it just gets dark. It just gets feathery dark. And how do you make it look like a feather? Well, the under part of the feather is a little bit darker. It's like one thing on top of another, like my hand on top of another. There's a little bit of a space, you know. It's like my fingers. In the spaces, there's dark in there. So each feather on top of another feather has a little bit of a space. And then this whole chest right here is a little bit dark, but I want to make this kind of nice and orangey. You know, even though this is dark here. And don't go into the white area with this color, because the head is white. And the chest will be more brownish. And so we're going to just make this nice and soft edged. And then when it dries, we'll go in there with the little details. And this side of his leg right here is also dark. I'm going to, again, use some more gray. And then gray goes right into the lines of the feathers. And then the leg itself is really dark down there. And when I say dark, I make some really dark hits. Really dark hits. And his legs are his legs white? No, his legs are brown too. So let's just go right into his legs on the dark side there and make them brown. A little gold. Make this more feathery, meaning soft edge, to make it a little bit softer edge. Add water. Now that all has to dry now, and so I can get those little lines in there. I'm still going to do a little bit more spattering, because I love spattering. Get it all over my screen, by the way. Now let's go get his eyes done here. Let's get this. So for his beak, it's very yellow. I'm just going to go in here and get a nice yellow beak. And the very tip I'll leave white. Underneath I'll make a little bit more orange. It goes back up here. Use a little bit more orange underneath here. And then I wonder what the color of the eyes are. I'm just going to make this gray here. Now I'm going to give it little shadows above his eye. Yeah, my lights are too bright here. Sorry about that. I'm still working on a bunch of things for my videos to be perfect. One day I'll make them perfect. And let's get a little bit of shadows, and little brush strokes makes it look like feathers too. Little brush strokes like this will make it look feathery. Get his mouth right here, and there's a little bit of dark right there. But I'm going to make that into the lavender look underneath his mouth here. And just bring out the feathers by making lines. The lines are what's underneath the feather, basically, is what's happening. There's like a little shadow underneath the feather, because they lay on top of each other, right? The feathers just kind of congregate on each other. Up here it gets really dark underneath his eyes. Get the roundness in his eye. I'll have to look later what the inside of the eye color is for an eagle. I have no idea. You make this look easier than it is. I am trying to catch up to you and getting a little closer to the eagle. Closer on the eagle. I will do the background afterwards. See, there you can do that too. It's dark, so yeah. Eagle eye are bright to the pale yellow. Are bright to the pale yellow. So they're a little yellow? All right, I'll take your word. Oh, pale yellow. Oh, yeah, it does look right. Thank you for that. So now we're just going to go and get detail. And this is the part that, you know, take your time. This is the part where you go in there and do what you see. This is the time where you can copy. Look at the photograph and copy things like the eye color and the shape of the eye and where the nostril, the little nostril right here. I should bring this up a little bit. 1 second here. Sorry, guys. I have to download. Let's see. Where is my eagle? Okay, now I got him on my other screen, and I can see him perfectly. Boy, it's really, his eyes are way into his head. So there's a really nice dark in here. And if I even have to use black just to get it to look really dark and stuff and really identify things. And there's a little nostril right here. And then underneath here is a little dark. And then there's these long line feathers here. And like I said, this is the time. Look at your picture and try to copy it. Now you go in there and get every little detail that you want in the center of interest. Like when it goes away from the center of interest, then you don't have to put all that stuff in. But the center of interest, you want to make it nice and sharp. It can even be photographic when you get to the details of the part that is your center of interest. And I used to not do as much of that because I didn't like doing a lot of details. But I've been noticing little by little that in the center of interest, you know, you can keep it loose, but it has to be tighter than everything else in the picture then, though. You need to make that the most important part, the most contrast, the most color, the center of interest. And basically his head and his wing and all this stuff right there is your center of interest. The rest is pretty much the secondary interests. And this down here, I can even float away and I can make little lines in the rock. But now I'm going in there and detailing the heck out of it. And hopefully I have enough time to detail all the nice little... And a lot of times what I do for these lines, I don't make them really dark. I make them the color of the shadow part. Like I'll take that, the gold, the Quin gold, I take that and I just make little lines with that color because it's not, I don't want it black. I just want it the same color as the shadow part. Because that's what it would be. It's the shadow of the wing, of the feather and behind it. So you just kind of go in there and shadow the heck out of it. And you don't have to make it perfect. Unless you're doing photographic, then you better draw it really good. Draw it perfect. And then these in here, I can make it a little bit darker. I can take a little bit of purple with the quinacridone gold, which makes it brown, kind of, right? And so I'm just going to go in here and just get all these nice feathers. And it's line. It's okay, but it's kind of line anyways, so that's fine. Get in there and get the line. Look at this big dark in there. That looks pretty good. I like that. Uh-oh, what happened to the questions? They're all gone. Oh, here they are. Oh, you Googled the eagle eyes? That's good. See how nice it is to have Google for us artists. You ask and you can get right away. You can get all the answers right away. because you don't need to have the photograph have everything, all the answers. You can do it as you're going along, and then just put other colors in there, and then ask it, and you find out. Because now, like I said, pictures lie. They may not be in your photograph. They may not be the right colors. So look it up. Look it up and see. Make sure that what you're doing is the correct colors, the correct whatever. Or if you don't even have a picture of something and you want it, then look it up on Google. Google Images, and put it into your scene. All right, we get the nice darks through here. This is kind of calligraphy now here, down here. Kind of like almost a little bit line work, and make it really kind of like almost like calligraphy, where you're kind of, it doesn't have to be perfect. And see, I'm just putting lines like I'm doing the twitch, the Becker twitch. And there's a big dark right here where the rock hits there. This should be a little bit more gold, I think. So you can rub out, even if I feel, because on the tail here, I want that to kind of blend, and I don't want to have too much detail right here because that's kind of out of focus. I kind of want to have that out of focus and going into the back. Look at how light things get. Look at how light that got. It's amazing. And also because I have direct light on it, and that's another thing you got to watch out. Like I'm in the studio now, and if you put this somewhere else, it's not quite as light as you see it in the line because I've got pumping light into this thing, so it just looks darker than it actually really is, or it looks lighter than it actually really is. All right, getting close, aren't we? 26. Yep, a few more minutes, and then the claws here. I do want to show you a little bit about putting gouache into this. I'm not against putting thick gouache in there. As a matter of fact, I want my style to have gouache in it, actually. Watercolor and watercolor gouache together. I like the look. I like the look of oil paints. I like the look of acrylic paints. I like the look of watercolor. And I feel that you can do it on all of it. I mean, you don't have to just have it on one thing. You can do whatever you want. And I actually kind of like the look of using a little bit of gouache to cover up areas or make a thickness to something. And so maybe like the feathers. I could do some feathers that are yellowy white. Let's just try it. Let me show you. Since we only have, how many minutes left? 3 minutes. So I'm going to take a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white. And now this is not gouache per se that you buy, but it is gouache that it's going to be opaque. And so I'm taking white and yellow, and I'm just going to put some feathers right here on this chest. Ooh, it sounds like it's raining. I hear it raining on my rooftop. So we're going to put little light feathers right here. Look at this. See? And maybe they're a little bit too yellow. So I'm going to take a little bit more white. I'm just going to kind of go in there and then just make light feathers. But see, I'm making this. Let me turn down some of those lights. I only have 3 minutes, but that's even better. Let's see. I'm gonna put a little light, little dots of white, where I feel it could be like a little bit lighter. Or have like the edge of the wing, or in here you can just put some little stripes of brush strokes. It's like doing the brush stroke of when you're doing oils. You do the last part of it, and you're just doing that. Now that's way too yellow, or way too white and yellow. Yeah, I should have made more orange, but that's okay. I can go in there and I can dull it down with gouache, like with lavender mixed with the yellow will give me a nice gray. All right. Getting close. 1 more minute. And what else can I do here? Let's get some darks through here. Back of his head is actually a little bit darker here, so let's go through here real quickly. Make that a little bit darker. It's all feathers, right? So you can do like feathery strokes. Wash that in there. And now that I look at it, it maybe that didn't get quite dark enough, did it? So let's real quickly, even though it's over, I'm just gonna put a little dark right here and let that bleed and let that be nice and dark. It's okay if I go over just slightly. Here we're gonna paint this a little bit darker. See, you can always go back over sometimes you wet it and let the pigment float on top of it. Then I'll go back in when it's dry and I'll put some more of the lines in there for each feather. I just want to make sure that I get the right value of what the object shows you. You know, this can be a little bit lighter in here. I can do that with the light. Like this time I use a little bit more lavender. And I can go in here and get some of these lights like they're showing. And this is opaque now though. See if I haven't going opaque. You can do that too. You can make it with an opaque color. And all right, I think that's going to be about it. All right, oh, I see down here we have a few little opaque colors. And his legs are way too yellow. One last second. It's only 1 minute past. I'm just going to put a little light right there. Make it a little more orange. And then one last white part around the back of his head. Like it's reflecting on the back of his head. I like doing this on the back and flick a little bit of the hairs on the back of his head there. All right, guys, that is it. If you see something else you can think of asking, just ask it into the comments. And I will post this on the front of this video after that's another place you can see it on the front of the video. When I get it, like those little lines in there, right now it's too wet to get it done, but I'll put it back in there and it'll be done. And you'll be able to see it right on the cover of this video. All right, so hopefully you'll do it too and show me on Facebook, my Facebook group. If you want to show it there, I'd love to see it. And if you have questions about it, you can put it on there and ask questions because we always like to help. And so, well, next video will be Sunday. And I never have an idea what I'm doing until Sunday morning. All right, we'll see you then. Thanks a lot, guys. Bye-bye.